Ensemble predictions for UFC Fight Night, Song versus Figueiredo, May 30th, 2026. 3 models. First, Deep Seek R1, Alonzo Menafield versus Zhang Mingyang. Picking Zhang Mingyang by KO, 65% confidence. Luis Felipe Diaz versus Yisak Lee. Picking Luis Felipe Diaz by unanimous decision, 50% confidence. Cameron Smotherman versus Kaya Sakura. Picking Cameron Smotherman by unanimous decision, 55% confidence. Antonio McKee versus Jose Montanha. Picking Jose Montanha by unanimous decision, 52% confidence. Jacqueline Amarim versus Loma Lukbunme. Picking Loma Lukbunme by unanimous decision, 60% confidence. Luis Gurule versus Ray Tsuruya. Picking Ray Tsuruya by unanimous decision, 60% confidence. Harris Sarmiento versus Jake Matthews. Picking Jake Matthews by submission, 70% confidence. Davison Figueiredo versus Song Yadong. Picking Song Yadong by unanimous decision, 65% confidence. Auriki Lang versus Cody Haddon. Picking Cody Haddon by unanimous decision, 65% confidence. Angela Hill versus Xiong Jingnan. Picking Angela Hill by unanimous decision, 55% confidence. Alex Perez versus Sumuderji. Picking Alex Perez by unanimous decision, 55% confidence. Sergey Pavlovich versus Taliesin Teixeira. Picking Sergey Pavlovich by KO, 65% confidence. Rodrigo Vera versus Zhu Kangjie. Picking Zhu Kangjie by unanimous decision, 50% confidence. Next, Gemini 2.5 Flash. Luis Felipe Diaz versus Yisak Lee. Picking Luis Felipe Diaz by unanimous decision, 50% confidence. Angela Hill versus Xiong Jingnan. Picking Xiong Jingnan by unanimous decision, 50% confidence. Harris Sarmiento versus Jake Matthews. Picking Jake Matthews by submission, 55% confidence. Antonio McKee versus Jose Montanha. Picking Antonio McKee by unanimous decision, 52% confidence. Aurika Lang versus Cody Haddon. Picking Cody Haddon by unanimous decision, 68% confidence. We have a bet on Cody Haddon. Cameron Smotherman versus Kai Asakura. Picking Cameron Smotherman by unanimous decision, 60% confidence. Davison Figueiredo versus Song Yadong. Picking Song Yadong by unanimous decision, 60% confidence. Luis Gurule versus Ray Tsuruya. Picking Ray Tsuruya by unanimous decision, 68% confidence. We have a bet on Ray Tsuruya. Alex Perez versus Sumuderji. Picking Alex Perez by submission, 60% confidence. Alonzo Menafield versus Zhang Mingyang. Picking Zhang Mingyang by KO, 60% confidence. Jacqueline Amarim versus Loma Lukbunmi. Picking Loma Lukbunmi by unanimous decision, 62% confidence. Sergey Pavlovich versus Taliesin Teixeira. Picking Sergey Pavlovich by KO, 58% confidence. Rodrigo Vera versus Zhu Kangjie. Picking Rodrigo Vera by unanimous decision, 50% confidence. Finally, Gemini 2.5 Pro. Luis Felipe Diaz versus Yisak Lee. Picking Luis Felipe Diaz by unanimous decision, 50% confidence. Harris Sarmiento versus Jake Matthews. Picking Jake Matthews by submission, 62% confidence. Alex Perez versus Sumuderji. Picking Alex Perez by unanimous decision, 65% confidence. Alonzo Menafield versus Zhang Mingyang. Picking Alonzo Menafield by KO, 55% confidence. Antonio McKee versus Jose Montanha. Picking Jose Montanha by split decision, 50% confidence. Angela Hill versus Xiong Jingnan. Picking Xiong Jingnan by unanimous decision, 65% confidence. Aurika Lang versus Cody Haddon. Picking Cody Haddon by unanimous decision, 55% confidence. Jacqueline Amorim versus Loma Lukbunme. Picking Loma Lukbunme by unanimous decision, 55% confidence. Luis Gurule versus Ray Tsuruya. Picking Ray Tsuruya by unanimous decision, 60% confidence. Davison Figueiredo versus Song Yadong. Picking Davison Figueiredo by split decision, 60% confidence. Cameron Smotherman versus Kai Asakura. Picking Cameron Smotherman by unanimous decision, 66% confidence. Sergey Pavlovich versus Taliesin Teixeira. Picking Sergey Pavlovich by KO, 60% confidence. Rodrigo Vera versus Zhu Kangjie. Picking Rodrigo Vera by unanimous decision, 50% confidence. Those are our picks from all 3 models for UFC Fight Night, Song versus Figueiredo. Follow for the results.